What's up, fam? How y'all doing on this evening?
Well, so good to see y'all again. Wonderful. Thank y'all for joining us one more time for a marriage evolved session. It is that team Tuesday team talk. Yes, it is going live again. Woo! It is wonderful today. We are back again with part two of forgiveness, and it's going to be a blast. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's going to be interesting. We have our special guest that came with us last time, our big brother and big sister, all the way from Colorado. They're going to be joining us again for another hot, juicy topic on talking about all those intricate parts of forgiveness, the benefits. We're going to finish up on a little bit more of that as well. And you may just hear some good insider tips from us as well as them on our own personal situations.
Oh, so you okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again.
Okay. I don't know where she was getting ready to go with that, but in any case, without further ado and hesitation, don't forget.
Hold on a second now, because we got some people that's going to be watching the rebroadcast later on. So we want to say thank you for taking this opportunity to watch the rebroadcast and to get educated on how to overcome this unforgiveness, so you can be able to break free. Did you see that video that I did?
I showed there you was chained up like just Django in there. Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few individuals who sent me some information, not information, but some insight on that, because they was like, "What are you doing?" I was chained up.
They was thinking about Tasha Cobb's song. Huh?
Okay, yes. Let's go ahead and bring in our people.
Well, once again, don't forget, while you're joining us, send us out a shout out where you're joining us from, regardless of what state, what location, what country. And don't forget, if you have any good questions, throw them in the chat, and we're sure to we can be able to watch them and see them and be able to address it. Okay.
All right. Without further ado, here we have the Richardson.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Hello. Coming back.
Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. Hey, I saw that video as well, and the first thing that came to my mind was "Set us be free." Set us be free.
Remind your roots, huh?
You're looking like I'm a star. Set us be free. Okay.
I'm a star.
I'm a star.
Let me tell you, sister girl had to be set free from that unforgiveness. So them chains was real at one point in my life.
I think it's interesting that people never think about unforgiveness as chaining them up.
Yes.
They never think about it that way.
Now, you guys brought up some very good points last week, and there were several of them that I just highlighted. And a couple of them I actually put it on our Facebook and our Instagram page. But the one that I liked the most, when you were talking about apology being reactive and forgiveness being proactive, and forgiveness is a choice.
Yes.
So we are going to go a little bit into that, the choices that we as couples make when it comes to forgiving or continually walking in that unforgiveness. So is there any time, I know we're getting right on into it, is there any time where you, Gina, have had a challenge forgiving Rodney?
Oh, yeah. It was early on in our marriage. We had been married about 7 years, and we had gone through some trials, but God sustained us. But as we were coming out, I noticed that I had no voice to him.
Say that again.
I had no voice to him. I could talk to him, but it would be like he just totally disregarded me. He would just like ignore me when I would talk to him. And I was like, okay. And this went on for probably a good while. And I finally told God, I said, God, if you don't do something with him, I'm out. I was going to be saying aloha. And he was getting ready to go on a trip. And I was like, God, you got to do something, because he was just rude and just disrespectful towards me. It's like, at one point I said to him one day, I said, look, can we have a talk? Because I feel like I'm just a booty call. And he said, you are.
Oh,
yeah.
Hold up.
This is after y'all been married for some time,
right?
Yes.
Well, you know what?
Serving Christ in the church.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Hold on a second, because Rod, I told you something similar that, I felt like I was just a booty call too, even though you had already put the ring on the finger.
She said that last week.
Well, we're going to keep it really real up in here, okay?
But look, now, as you were saying that though, Gina, and I know for myself, brother, I ain't speaking for you, but I know for myself, a lot of that mindset came from that military background and training. Always feeling that need to be the shot caller, decision maker, and irregardless of what my teammate had to say, I was the one, bringing all the decisions in. What you had to say, I heard you, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, sometimes it was through in one ear out the other. Even serving Christ, because I was like, well, if God ain't talked to me, He ain't said nothing for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
But the thing about that is, because there are several people that are going to be watching this later, how did you go through the steps of forgiving him even after having the conversation and expressing that you didn't feel like you had a voice in the relationship?
I just, I was like, you know what, God, you just got to help me with my attitude towards him, because I had an attitude towards him. I was still doing the things that I needed to do as a wife, but I was like, dude, you ain't getting nothing.
Oh.
When you say nothing, does that mean like no thing, like food, sex?
Oh, he can have food and everything, but sex now. That was off the table.
Now,
I wish I had an emoji count for a refrigerator that just got locked up.
Now that is a very important key, because when there is unforgiveness, everything shuts down.
Come on. And
movie shuts down, conversation shuts down.
Yep.
Nothing.
Oh yeah, I wasn't talking to him.
Right. And you were saying last week, I believe, Rodney, you were saying last week, everything functions when everything functions.
Yes. And I think that's the part we really have to understand.
That's true.
When you mentioned earlier about either choosing to forgive or choosing to stay in unforgiveness. If I choose to stay in unforgiveness, then I'm choosing to stay in this dysfunctional relationship, or this dysfunctional time period. And so what's more important to me? Being right, being whatever your reasons are for not forgiving, is that more important than coming out of some portion of this, dysfunction? And so if we're not functioning because of unforgiveness, then of course everything behind that gets shut down. We talked about that last week, about the room. When the doors close and the windows close, nothing can get in, nothing can get out. So what's my alternative to this? Do I want to be in a stuffy, dark, cold room, or do I want the windows open, the doors open, the sun shining? So then I have to choose to make that decision to forgive.
Yes.
But there's so many relationships now that are walking or choosing, choosing. Oh,
You getting a little choked up on that?
Oh, yes, I guess. Let me just. They're choosing to stay locked up. And that's the sad part about it, because they don't know how to release themselves. So can you?
I wouldn't say so much, and I'm gonna let you finish that statement. That is not knowing how to release themselves, as sometimes it's just not wanting to, because you hold on to your pride. You're well, you know what? I ain't saying nothing till they say something. It's like, well, I wasn't in the wrong. Because a lot of time that's what we dealt with. But I'm not gonna be the one to initiate. I'm not gonna be the mature one. And at the end of the day, like Ronnie was just saying, I believe it has to deal with that heart, as we talked a little bit last time. Allowing God, being proactive, allowing God to deal with your heart, because it's a heart posture when it comes down to forgiveness. In order to be proactive, you have to have a heart posture to say, hey, you know what? I came off a little funky this last time, or I need to change my ways. I need to change the way I'm thinking, the way I'm handling this situation, and not deal with my spouse in that manner. But go ahead and finish your statement. Okay, Gina, you had something you want to share?
What I was saying, I remember when we got married, and the elder that married us, he said, you're going to find out that after you stop being mad with your husband or your wife, that you still love them. And that marriage was giving and forgiving.
Yes.
And a lot of times we feel like we're continually giving and forgiving, till we'd be like, you know what, I'm done. I won't do that no more.
Yeah.
I want him to feel this. So we just shut everything down.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now,
Go ahead.
how this is from the woman's perspective. You want him to feel the same level of pain that he
Inflicted on you. Yes,
So you're choosing to stay with there.
that's right.
Now, from a different perspective, Rodney, could you share how and what was going through your mind when she sat you down to share with you that she didn't have a voice?
She honestly, we didn't have that conversation because on my way home, as she said, I was getting ready to go on a trip. And so on my way home, I'm riding, doing whatever. And God says, you're crushing your wife. And I was like, what? He said, you're crushing your wife. And what that did for me is it made me realize how bad I was. I didn't know how bad I was. Okay, I knew I wasn't right. I'm not going to sit here like I didn't know I wasn't right. I knew I wasn't right. I knew my attitude was wrong. I knew things were wrong, but I didn't know they were wrong, if that makes sense. And I think we talked last week about David and how David knew what he did was wrong, but it wasn't until he realized who he had hurt.
Right.
And once he realized who he hurt, he repented. And when God began to speak to me and say, you're crushing your wife, I said, whoa, because that's the one thing I didn't want to do. Even though I was doing it, I didn't want to do it. And when he brought it to my attention, I said, I got to change this. Oh, this got to stop. Because I love this woman. I'm crazy right now, but I love her. And the last thing I want to do is crush her. And so once I realized my problem, and I think that's where we have to start, is when you can realize your problem, then you can, whether they come at you sideways, crooked, straight, it doesn't matter. When you realize your problem, then it's not on the person now. It's on you.
It's on you.
It's on you. And so when that happened, and then of course she told me I was praying, but she didn't have to tell me about what was going on because I was aware of it. But I didn't know the impact that it was having. And once God let me know the impact, I had to make a change because I don't want to crush this woman.
Because if he had not made a change, we might not be sitting here.
Yeah.
Because I had told God, I'm on my way out.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to go TDY and your family jacked up.
And
yeah, you needed to make the money, but what good is the money if the relationship is not right?
Well, let me say that right there.
Yes.
Because we have so many people who are so many couples that are running after the money, knowing that that's part of what we're supposed to do as a couple, so we can be able to support our families.
But what is the priority?
And we as military, and you all also being prior military, going overseas and leaving your spouse in that condition is damaging. Because you're gone for like 6 to 7 months out of the time.
It is.
What you about to say, Rodney? Go ahead, let it out.
It ain't about making money for men. It's about them avoiding the issues in the relationship. So I chase money hoping that if I give you enough, you'll get off me.
Nope.
Wow.
So I'm going to chase the money and I will give you my checkbook, but I will not give you my heart.
I mean, we had a couple that we counseled and he said, I'll buy her this, I'll buy her that. And she said, I don't want none of that. I want you.
I give her a Jag. I give her whatever she wants. Buy it. And the woman said, I don't want your stuff.
I want you.
But he couldn't give her himself. And so that's
the one thing I remember Sean shared with me many years ago. And it wasn't so much money either. It was I felt like I had to hit all these wickets. I had to hit all these check boxes to please her, to make sure that she was satisfied. Because as long as I was hitting the check box, I was like, like Scooby. I got my Scooby treats. I made her happy. She shouldn't have no complaint about this. She shouldn't have any reason to have any feelings about it because I'm hitting all the wickets. But little did I know until she, just like you said, Jenna, she had to bring it to my attention. You're not giving me you. You're not letting me in. Yes, you do all these things. That's wonderful, but I still don't know your heart. I still don't have your heart.
And I had to learn how to forgive him because otherwise I would have been, well, I'm going to be honest, I was walking in resentment for a while because he wasn't hearing me and he was not allowing me to speak and have a voice or have a say in the relationship. And I felt like Rodney was talking earlier, crushed because everything that I said and did was, you already said it, going over his head. And I know that we have people that are going to be watching this later that may feel the same way, feel crushed in the relationship, in the marriage, doing all of these wonderful things, but crushed by their spouse. How do they get to the place of forgiving the spouse, Gina? And then Rodney, how does one husband really identify and smell his own crack?
Oh man.
Want me to go first?
I'll go ahead. I wanted to forgive him, but the way it was, I didn't want to because I didn't want him to think that if I forgave him, he could continue with the same behavior.
Wait. The same behavior?
Yes.
You remember last week we said you don't have to forgive an unrepentant person.
That's
yes.
Right.
Because it gives them that license to continue.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is true. I want to forgive. And I think a lot of people are there, I want to forgive, but I'm afraid that you will take advantage of my forgiveness and keep on and just keep doing what you're doing. So from a man's perspective of smelling yourself, you have to mature and understand when this woman is coming to you and she's asking forgiveness, that does not give you the license to keep mistreating her or doing whatever she's asking forgiveness of. So you have to grow up and realize I got some things I got to change. And when you can make those changes, then it makes forgiveness easier.
That's right.
Because I see you doing things differently. I see you responding differently. Doesn't make you perfect, but when I begin to see you take a step, then I'm like, okay, he's making an effort. This step, that step. And so now we can continue to move forward.
We got those people in the back again that they're having a hard time hearing. Can you just repeat that highlighted part in the front end, your part A that you just said? You had to do what now?
You have to mature.
That's the one right there.
You gotta grow up. Don't see if you think you're getting over because somebody asked for forgiveness. In their part, if you forgive me, I forgive you. Oh, I got over this time, dog. And I think that's how David felt. He slept with Bathsheba, killed her husband, went on about being the king. Ain't nothing happened. David just going on about his life.
So basically you saying like the title was talking about, was it suppressed or just pushed up under the rug? A lot of us as couples do. We push so much stuff under the rug until that big old pile starts becoming noticeable.
Noticeable.
It's an elephant in the room.
Yeah. And at that point, people want counseling. A lot of times when it reaches that point, people want counseling. And it's hard now because you got to dig through all of that. And women get in counseling, they start crying. They start talking about 19. You 19. My God, this 2022. You talking about 19. You looking at the brother like, dude, are you for real?
Yeah.
19? And so now you got to unpack years and years. And some people can survive. And some people don't.
Right.
But if you if you allow yourself to mature, and you asked me earlier, how did I feel when she had that conversation? The thing that hurt me the most was when I realized how bad I was. It wasn't her. At that moment, it had nothing to do with her. When God said you're crushing your wife, I broke. I literally broke. I pulled into the driveway. I slammed the car in the park. I'm bent over the steering wheel, and I'm bawling, literally like a baby. The kids are outside. There may be 7 or 8 at the time.
Wow.
They see me, and they run in the house screaming, "Mom, something's wrong with Dad!" And so she runs out, and she opens the door, and I just fall.
And I go, "What's wrong?" And he falls in my lap and says, "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry.
And I'm looking like,
yeah, that's all I could say.
I couldn't say anything because God had.
That was real.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it was real. Oh,
it was real.
But can I be honest and transparent? There was still work for me to do.
Yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I had to
said that.
Had to change how he thought.
I apologized. And remember, we talked about that last week. Apology comes from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize from my heart. No questions. But I had to work on that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying there was follow up.
There was follow up to my apology.
Yes.
And I worked on it. I think I did a good job. I mean,
you did. I mean,
did you have to work on it one time?
Huh?
Say it again.
You had to work on it just one time?
Oh, no.
2 times?
Still working on it.
Well, yeah.
That's the part right there.
That part right there is you have to be very intentional for one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a continual learning of change.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
not going to just happen overnight. It's not going to just take place the first time the person says, "Will you please forgive me?" And they still may do something else that needs forgiving again.
Yeah,
that's true.
Now, if y'all is watching this and this is helping y'all put some fire in that chat room. And then also too, if you have questions, please put them in the chat, because we definitely want you to walk away, walk or turn the computer off with some insight that's going to help you with unforgiveness. So you can get to the place of forgiving your spouse, even if it's for the smallest thing, like not washing those dishes that you left in the sink.
Oh yeah.
That can bring about resentment and bitterness.
She talking about this morning, y'all. I left a few dishes in the sink because she had to go ahead and chase some ants out of the windowsill area.
You know, we talked last week, and it's so important that when your spouse does something that you don't become, because resentment is the baby in the crib that becomes unforgiving.
Oh, no. And that baby sometimes is ugly, ain't it?
That's an ugly baby.
That's ugly baby all the time.
It's an ugly baby. Resentment is ugly baby.
Always ugly.
So what are some ways that you could help someone who has suppressed it for so long that they don't know how to begin to unveil and pull the stuff from up under the rug?
I think it's twofold. From my counseling mindset, we suppress things for various reasons. It could be fear. Mm-hmm. Fear, you may leave me. So if I bring it up, you may leave me, or we may get into an argument. I don't like confrontation, so I won't bring it up. I'll deal with it. But I don't really know how to deal with it. So I just put it there, and I leave it there, hoping that it'll go away. And so what I would tell people is, if you find yourself in that category, you need to go and look at yourself and begin to ask, why won't I bring this up? Why won't I talk to my wife about this? And then it could be your spouse that's the problem. Because if I bring it up, they fly off the handle. They get loud, they get violent, or they get whatever. So I just choose not to bring it up. But at some point, you got to get to the point in your life where you are bold enough, not violent, but bold enough to say, we need to have a conversation. And there's many ways you can do it. Yeah. Maybe you can find another couple who you have confidence in, and the four of y'all can get together and say, look, I need y'all to kind of referee, but don't get their family. You know what I'm saying?
Get somebody that's a neutral party.
Yes.
So the one thing you don't want to do is bring somebody that could possibly take sides.
Yes, you don't want that.
You don't want that.
You want somebody that can sit in the middle and listen and make sure that both parties can talk.
Right.
Because sometimes it's that fear. So I just bury it because I'm afraid and I don't know how to converse. I don't know how to express myself. So that's one way people can kind of overcome from suppressing unforgiveness.
And the other thing is, like you said, finding that neutral party, our not marriage counselor, but a marriage mentor.
Yes.
A mentor that for you that can help you walk through those things. And don't be embarrassed, because the truth is we've all walked through something.
Yes, ma'am.
And sometimes the enemy keeps us isolated when things happen in our relationship to make us think that it's just you. But the truth is everybody's gone through something in their relationship.
Tell me about it.
So I think those are
the worst thing that you can do is keep silent.
Yes. You said a key thing there, Rodney, because for years there were times when I was reluctant because of the very thing you said, the lashing out, how she was going to come at me verbally with everything. And so I was reluctant to be able to confront the issue and deal with it or present it, because I already had in my mind, when I do this, boy, she's going to go off to the handle. She's going to go off to the side. I don't want to deal with that. I don't feel like hearing that.
So you suppressed some issues?
I suppressed a lot of issues. And it had to take for those moments when we had those shut up in our room for 8-hour days and just lay it all on the table.
So did you forgive me?
Eventually I did, and some of those forgiveness came after we were in those, like I said, those long, talking sessions. And it got to the point to where you were able to finally hear my heartbeat without me having to convey it in a demanding way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, healing for myself as well as healing for you, because now it opened you back up to be able to hear what we're talking about. Okay, in the future, when he comes to me, I know he's coming from a heart posture of truly being forgiven, and he's not going to trample over me again in this capacity. Yeah. He's not going to siphon my air from me.
I like what you said, Roderick, about giving each other that space to express their heart. And I think that's the thing that a lot of couples don't do. And when the other person tries to express their heart, they just shut them out and shut them down. And so then you have this wall. Yeah. And so the wall it causes further division, and it hinders the forgiveness process.
Yes.
Yes, you're very right. And in that, one of the things that we had to grow up in understanding was she has her truth to the situation. I have my truth.
That's right.
Neither one of us is wrong about it. We just have our perspective.
That's right.
We see the situation. But like you said, Ronnie, as well, Gina, we have to be mature enough to bring it to the table, hear each other out, and then say, okay, how do we find resolution in this matter?
Right. And it's not about who's right or wrong. As my husband would always say, there's your side, his side, and then there's the truth.
That's it.
So, I mean, that's how people can overcome suppressing it, because we only suppress things for negative reasons. We don't suppress good stuff. I ain't never suppress. I tell everybody about the good stuff, but I always suppress the bad. And there's so many reasons. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I'm hurt. I'm in pain. And so I choose to keep it in, again, hoping that, I can get through it, or hoping that time, will pass and it'll go away. But whenever something's in your heart, it never goes away.
That's right.
It takes on the form of something else.
That's right.
And eventually it comes out as something else. And so if it comes out as something else, and I don't know what that something else is, now I don't know why you're coming at me sideways, because I don't even recognize what you're talking about. But it was that suppression that's coming out in, I didn't wash the dishes. So I'm trying to figure out, why did you break the glass? Because I didn't wash the dishes. That was uncalled for.
Right.
But it's really what you did last month or what you did last year, and I didn't know how to express it, but now I have this avenue.
Yeah.
So I just lose it. But that doesn't do us any good because, again, now I'm trying to figure out, I would never leave another dish in the sink because if you're going to break the glass, my God.
Then you got to go out and buy some more glasses.
So now I'm mad because not money. You see what I'm saying? So it goes from one to the other. So if you don't know how to have these conversations, you need to learn how to have what we call tough conversations. And there's material out there you can find on the internet that'll walk you through steps of how to have tough conversation or courageous conversation.
Courageous conversation. I like that.
Conversation. I think what happens a lot of times, I know I was sharing with someone how we've been taught as children not to speak. We were told children were to be seen and not heard. And here we are adults. We still, we think because we're adults that we freely speak, but the truth is we don't. And we never think about that some of that stuff we're still doing even in our relationship as adults. So now I have to be able to find my voice and speak freely in my relationship without coming at my spouse because I'm angry about something. I got to be able to work through those emotions and say, okay, God, help me to express how I feel without, at my husband or my wife. And sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
So I see there was a question. I know you getting ready to go on that, address that one?
Yes, okay. There is a question. But I want Rodney and Gina to answer this because it was a question that was put in the chat, not the chat, but Instagram. Someone Instagrammed me, DM'd me and asked the question, what is forgiveness? Mm-hmm. And then the other one was, how do you forgive when your spouse is dabbing in pornography? So those two questions, and then this question. So we're getting ready to go into Q&A right now. I know I done gave y'all some good ones.
I'm not going to.
Here we go. So here's the question from Christina Williams. Hello, Christina.
So are we answering this one or the one you just mentioned? Are we answering this one on the screen?
We're going to answer this one first.
Okay.
And I think you already kind of touched on it a few minutes ago. I don't know if Christina was logged in at that point, but y'all both kind of hit on it. So I don't know if y'all want to go back in that direction again where you were just sharing.
Again, I think it boils down to what's more important. Well, no, Roger, I think you said it. You have your truth, she has her truth. Neither one of us are wrong.
Right.
It's just a perspective.
Yes.
So let's come together and discuss our perspective.
Okay.
And again, I gotta have enough humility to hear your perspective. Mm-hmm. See, if I don't want to hear your truth, you don't want to hear my truth, then there's something else going on because it ain't about the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really about, as my wife said, you don't have a voice or he don't have a voice. Mm-hmm. And so we like to couch it. Well, we both have truth, and because we both have truth, it ain't about the truth. It's about somebody don't have a voice or don't respect the other person.
That's it.
That's right.
Can I keep it real?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and so we have to, again, go internally.
Right.
Why won't I hear Christine, I'm not calling you out, but I'm just going to use you since you asked the question. Why won't I hear what my wife, Christina, has to say?
Mm-hmm. Or what my husband has to say.
Because what she has to say is important.
Right.
So if I view her truth that way, then I can hear it. And if she views my truth that way, then she can hear mine. I hope that answered your question.
I think the biggest challenge is the level of respect we have for each other.
Boom.
Yeah. That is very important because respect has a lot to do with how quickly even we forgive.
That's right.
And
Christians have a hard time with this.
Come on.
Because we are.
Let it flow. Let it flow.
We are so about others, and we are so unforgiving that the ones we're closest with catch our wrath. Well, this is what I mean. If you hurt me, I'm going to forgive you because the Bible tells me so.
Right.
I got to pray for Brother Roderick, pray for those that despitefully hurt you and use you. Pray for Brother Roderick and Sister Roshawn because they talked about me, so but the Bible tells me to. But I want to take that very scripture
Come on.
and apply it to this woman right here
Come.
who may hurt me
You
or
about to
use me.
make me
And
shout.
so, where should scripture go first?
It should go home first because charity
It should go
begins at
home
home.
first. It should go home first.
Get it right at the house.
To get right at the house. So if anybody is receiving my forgiveness quickly,
My
it
spouse.
should be the one that I'm with and not
Right.
the people.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Right? Because I want to be spiritual in the eyes of the people.
I want to impress.
I got to forgive you. Then I come home and she say, oh, so you going, oh, okay, yeah.
Is that spiritual or religious? I'm just saying.
Religious.
Well, that's religious.
That's religious.
That is-
But it should be
Religious.
spiritual.
And what did Jesus say about the religious folks? But we
Well, let me just add on the last part of that for Christina as well, and anybody else that had that same question, because you said it earlier, Gina. If you have those moments where it's like an impasse, where both of you saying you got your truth, and you're having a struggle, and being able to hear what each other saying, like what Rodney was just sharing, then get a neutral couple. And I would say at least a neutral, mature couple
That's
that
right.
will
Well,
help
yes,
coach you
please,
through how to find
please.
resolution and guide you through that direction.
right.
That way both of you find the win-win going forward.
Yes.
That's right. Absolutely. Because you don't want,
Now, please address the other two questions.
Oh, what is forgiveness?
Huh?
What is
Yes.
forgiveness?
What is forgiveness,
Mhm.
and how do you forgive the spouse who is dabbling in pornography?
Well, forgiveness is, I'm going to do a little reading. I won't do a lot, but I'm just going to do a little reading. It is the act of pardoning something that has been done. And it includes giving up resentment, vengefulness, and anger towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake he or she has committed. Real forgiveness is an intentional and voluntary process where the person who was wronged undergoes a change of feeling toward the wrongdoer. Now, there's two types of forgiveness. One is decisional and one is emotional. And I think a lot of times we try to do the decisional part. And the decisional part simply says, I'm going to forgive you because I don't want to be mad. I don't want to walk around mad. I don't want to walk around mad, so I'm going to forgive you. So I decide to forgive you. But I never deal with that resentment or that anger. I just decide, I'm going to suppress this. I'm going to put it off.
Wow.
And we go on and we're having good times, but there's,
Yes.
we're getting along, but
you still got a baby in the crib.
Yes.
and then,
Haven't dealt with.
and then there's emotional forgiveness, which is what I just read. That's when I say, you know what? I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna give up the anger. I'm gonna give up the resentment. I'm gonna give up all of that because I understand now what I've been forgiven of, and therefore I'm gonna do the same for you. Yeah, it hurt. It's hurtful, but you know what? What's the alternative? We can stay bound. We can stay stuck, or we can move forward. So that's forgiveness.
Now, what was the second question? Can you repeat that second question?
Go ahead.
How do you forgive the spouse who is dabbling in pornography? Or who has dabbled in pornography?
The first thing, I guess, the first question is, are they still dabbling in pornography?
Now that I don't know. This was just a question that was brought in DM. Whether they are or they're not, somebody hasn't forgiven.
You remember last week we asked the question about unforgivable?
Yes.
Yes.
See, what? This might get me in trouble, but
That's
I
all right.
know y'all will have me back. Why do we categorize things?
Yeah.
See, let me go here, because I won't make the assumption of if it was a female or a male who asked the question, but I would assume it's a female who asked the question. That would be my assumption.
Yes.
And so here's the real problem. It ain't about the pornography.
Mhm.
It's about the fact of how I feel.
Mm.
So the reason I'm having problems forgiving you about pornography is not what you're watching, but it's how it makes me feel.
Right.
As a woman, as your wife, I feel less than. I feel embarrassed. I can't share this with anybody because I feel less than a woman. Mm-hmm. So again, we have to understand where the hurt is coming from. Right. See, you're dealing with pornography. That's a symptom of how you really feel. Mm-hmm. You got to deal with how you feel. See, when you can begin to overcome how you feel, then I can forgive you. Part 2 of this is this. If you're still doing pornography, I'm having a hard time forgiving you. Even if I get myself right, I'm having a hard time forgiving you because you're still doing it. So,
and see,
let me get off my box real quick.
I'm pretty sure that he's asked for forgiveness and this thing has continued to happen. So now she's like, I'm having a hard time forgiving because we keep going through the same cycle.
But again, it's not about the pornography.
It's about how
it makes me feel.
How it makes the person feel.
The woman feel. Come on. Yeah. Who wants to be secondary to a scream?
Nobody.
See, and that's where, without going down that path, there's a bigger issue at the problem there that they haven't addressed and need to address.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And this kind of goes back into what you're saying about how it made me feel, because somewhere along the lines you feel a certain way, which has kind of maybe driven the other spouse in that direction, or open up the door for that.
There's so many things that could can bring this on. Right. It's so many, man. We could talk about this forever because you could have had a baby and you were a size 2 and now you a size 8, but it goes back to individual responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah, my wife was a size 2 when we got married. She had my big head kids. I got a big head. They had a big head. Well, she ain't a size 2 no more. So I got to tweak my eyes. Come on now. I had to tweak my eyes. I like size 2, but I got a 4. I got to tweak my eyes and begin to love a 4.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not put pressure on her to become a 2 or to go try to find me a 2 on the computer screen. Tweak your eyes to love 4. I love 4. I love 4. I love 4. You don't tweak your eyes, player. And learn.
She got to love her 4 too.
Huh?
Going back to what you said earlier, she got to love her 4 too. How she said
that's right.
That's what I was getting at. Underlying issue.
But if I love her 4, it makes it easier for her to love her 4.
I was going to say that.
Yes. I'm gonna love my 4.
Might feel comfortable in her new place, her new 4.
Right.
This is good.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We are just, oh my goodness. The time just be going by so fast.
Gina, did you have a closing thought on that?
No, I didn't. Okay. But again, the pornography thing, we've dealt with a lot of women relationships with that. And I've always said, reality cannot compete with fantasy.
That's right.
So, but you got to find the root of where that comes from.
There it is. Yeah.
You got to find the root, because we can't keep putting a Band-Aid on stuff. No. And that's what people keep doing. They could keep putting a Band-Aid and they keep getting ripped off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fam, we have given some amazing gems tonight. We thank Pastor Richardson and Pastor Gina for joining us on tonight. We thank those that are going to watch the rebroadcast. And we thank you for joining us. Remember, always go follow us on YouTube, subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, because there is more to come with Marriage Evolves. And I tell you, these are some great gems. Every couple needs to find another healthy couple.
Yes.
That's right.
To help them walk these areas out in their life. Do not connect with individuals that cannot help you.
Come on.
That's right.
That cannot help you get past the cycle that you have created. Is there anything that you want to share, babe?
I just want to say, if you happen to be in the Colorado area, if you know of any family members or friends that are in Colorado, especially if they're close to a road, go and check out Place of Victory. That is where our brother and sister are plowing the land out there in Colorado.
Amen.
Check them out. Wonderful ministry.
Amen.
And as always, we love to end our broadcast with
We are two hearts, one team with one purpose.
Y'all have a good night.
No, I think they put us in the green.